who are not able to join us today. So thank you so much for being here. This is our computer science teacher huddle, and we are fortunate today to have Kyle Posten and Michael Shultz with us, who have a lot of experience, I understand. They were highly recommended to us from Megan Garnhart with the Computer Science Teachers Association, and have just a lot of experience with robotics and things like that. I wanted to tell you that Kyle has taught computer science to 7th and 8th graders at Sage Valley Junior High in Gillette for the last 10 years. And he's also operated and coached an after-school robotics group. And the last 5 years, he's averaged about 25 students per year in that after-school robotics program. And some of the teams have earned invites and have competed in the US Robotics Open, which is awesome, and VEX Robotics World Championship. So a real advocate for competitive robotics in Wyoming, and we're so excited to be able to have him joining us today. And then we also have Mike, who's a veteran tech ed STEM teacher, and he's in his 28th year of teaching, should really be a saint probably, for 28 years of doing this. Most of his experience has also been in the middle school, but since 2017, he's been teaching engineering and coaching the VEX robotics team at Thunder Basin High School in Gillette. So we are really excited about them being able to join us, and he's able to provide leadership in computer science education and helping to expand the diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives that are represented in EPIC programs at a state and national level. So we are excited about that, and we're going to turn it over to them, and there may be people that continue to join us for a few minutes, Michael and Kyle, but we'll let you guys get started and share your wealth of knowledge with our teachers.
Kyle, why don't you go ahead?
You want me to go first, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you guys have questions at any point, feel free to chime in. I presented this summer. Me and Mike went up to Sheridan to the computer science conference, and we presented about VEX robotics and what we do in the classroom with it, and how we incorporate it into our computer science or our engineering classes, and then also how we use it to have the kids compete in robotics, and we use the VEX robotics platform. So kind of what I want to just talk about is just what is VEX robotics, how would you make a team, and why I think it's important for other schools to use VEX in school. So if I can, I mean, does anybody have a question before I start? No? Okay, so if I could walk, I have kids in my classroom right now, like working on robotics. So what VEX robotics is it looks like, I don't know if this makes you guys weirded out, but like this is a student's robot right here that they would build for the VEX game. And back here in the back of my classroom is the VEX field. And this is one of my students right now. We have a state tournament coming up this weekend. So I have some kids practicing after school. They're getting ready for the tournament this Saturday. So what they spend most of their time on is designing and building their robots. And you know, the kids have an engineering notebook. They keep track of their design process, their decision making, their design matrices. Right now, you can see this is my student Caleb. He's running an autonomous program. He's writing code for his robot to play the game and score points. So he's just testing it out right now and troubleshooting and practicing. And then I got some other kids over here. They're working on building their robots and writing code right now. So that's kind of what most kids do after school is they spend time in the classroom designing and building their robots and writing code for it to play the game, programming the remote. They spend most of their time driving it in a competition, but there are the skills part of it where they're programming the robot to play the game. And I talk about this game like you guys like know what it is, but if I can share my screen, I would I'm going to share my, this is can you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay. This is robot events. And, you know, if you were interested in VEX robotics, robotevents.com is the foundation that runs a lot of the tournaments around the country. And they put out the game manuals, and they provide a lot of the resources for teachers to use, like curriculum to teach the various aspects of the game. So robot events is Vex IQ is what I use, and that's for elementary and middle school. Vex robotics competition that we call this V5. This would be for the high school. So like if I went to the Vex robotics for IQ, this shows all the events that you can search for and compete at. So like if I came down here tonight, I go to this where and I search for Wyoming right now, we'll be able to pull up and see. This is the Wyoming Regional Championship, which is, if you guys aren't doing anything this Saturday at Sage Valley, the school I teach at in Gillette, we're hosting the Wyoming Regional Championship. And there'll be 26 teams competing with the top elementary, top junior high team earning an invite to Dallas, Texas, the World Championship, Robotics Championship in Dallas in May. So what Robot Events is, it's just a resource to over here on the right-hand side is where I have my account, and where you would, if you wanted to start a robotics program, you would need to make an account through Robot Events, and you would register your charter or your robotics organization through Robot Events. To learn about the competition, like what Vex is, like the various aspects of the game, vexrobotics.com, this webpage is a great starting point for people. It just kind of goes over what the game is. Every season, the game changes. So it forces students to redesign a robot and go through that design process every season to build a robot that plays that game. So forces them to continually use that engineering design process. And then the kids work together on teams. So that you pair them up in teams of 2 to 4, and they work together to build a robot to play the game. And by play the game, I mean they drive in a match with two other drivers. So there'll be 2 robots on the field at a time, and they'll play together to score points. So they're not battling each other. As people talk about, once they get to high school, they'll start doing more of an offensive, defensive type strategy where there'll be 4 teams competing against each other instead of just 2 at a time. So I kind of feel like I've been talking a lot, and a lot of it might be new, and people are like, I have no idea what he's talking about, but you kind of have to just, see these things and just dive right in, and you'll learn a lot about it. There's endless resources. I could talk about it forever. But I just, if you're a teacher and you enjoy teaching, I think robotics makes it even funner to teach. I mean, if you're kind of bored with your curriculum, or you feel like you could offer more to kids, I feel like competitive robotics is, it's a great way to get kids really involved in their learning and applying it. So where I started with robotics, I started by I learned about it. I went to my principal and I told him that I'd like to do a competitive robotics group after school, and I need money to buy kits. And he gave me the go to order a classroom kit, which was 12 kits for about $4,000, $5,000. And that was about 5 years ago. And since that first year, I had 12 kits. I now have about 30 or so robotic kits, because each year I kind of update what I have, and I write some grants to get more parts each year. And then the kids, we sell concessions to raise money for robotic fees for tournaments, to raise money to buy new parts, because parts cost money, and the cool parts don't come in the kit, so you have to order extra stuff.
So Kyle, I just have a question. Go ahead, Clint.
Okay, I was just, so I'm a Vex shop. I have Vex teach my kids how to use the Vex. This year I had finally, after a few years of building, I had some kids that were interested in doing a competition, and we looked around. For some reason, I don't know why I didn't look at Vex. I'm taking kids to Skills USA this year, but the big thing I was curious about, because most of the ones that I look at is, I mean, all of the parts and stuff you expect to spend with that, but the actual, just to sign up and go, had a huge price tag. What does the price tag look like for Vex?
So if you guys look at my screen right now, I'm on my account for Vex, and if you guys can see my screen there on the left-hand side where I click my teams, like this shows all my teams that I have registered. Like right now I have 9 teams. To register a team, once you have a Robot Events account, you would register a team through that. And I know it's pricey, and it's because they have a great software system that they use, and they have a lot of curriculum that they pump out for free, but it's $150 for each team to register. So when you sign up, it's $150 for one team. And then every other team after that is another 150. But once you've registered 6 teams, you don't have to pay for any more teams up to 22. So I paid about $1,000 and I have 9 teams right now registered, and I could register up to 22 teams. So like a school district or like a school system could start a robotics organization within their school district, and you could register up to 22 teams for $1,000, and you don't have to pay for 150 after so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's way cheap. We were looking at like $6,000 to do the one robotics or first robotics competition. I was like, I can't raise that kind of money.
Yeah.
I'm need see 150, few $100s, $1,000 isn't that big a deal, but thousands is rough.
Yeah, no, I understand. And then,
Hang on. Actually, I think it might be up to, it's $800, I believe, unless they've changed it. 200 for the first team, 150 for each team after that, up to 8 teams or 7 teams or whatever, $800. And then you can put on up to 22 teams for that $800.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little pricey up front, but if you have more, then it just gets cheaper and cheaper. So
I was going to say that I was, even though I'm a family consumer science teacher by profession, I was our robotics coach. And I was the robotics coach because nobody else in our building would do it. And our kids were interested in that. And I found VEX to be really super user-friendly, especially for somebody who, I went out and got people in the community to help my students build robots and to code and do the game elements, because that's not what family consumer science teachers normally do intuitively. And we met one night a week. And then I took a team of 4 students and an alternate over to Evanston to compete. The very first time they'd ever competed, and they came in 2nd place in the state. And so they were really excited and really thrilled. And these were kids that were not, the athletes of the school. They weren't the brainiacs. They were just interested in robotics and coding. And VEX was really, really helpful. They also had a grant program for new VEX programs in the state where they gave you a classroom. Well, actually, I think it was $1,000 and basically a gift certificate that you could use to order equipment and things if you had never done VEX before. And I did talk to the VEX representative at ACTE in Phoenix when we were there in December, and they do still have that program by contacting the regional sales rep. So if any of you are thinking about doing VEX or just getting into VEX officially, I would reach out to VEX also and see if they have any grant programs currently. Usually it's 1 school per state each year that they will provide all the startup grant to, and then you can take it from there. But we were able to also write some grants. And we actually, because I found that the playing field was one of the most expensive items. We had the great big classroom size playing field, and that was pretty pricey with all the mats and everything. And then the game elements change every year, and you have to get the new elements if you're going to be competitive. But I found VEX to be super user friendly, and VEX is the robotics program that Skills USA does use. I know there's a lot of schools out there that do Legos, especially at the younger grades. But if you're going to compete like with Skills or Skills USA, then VEX is the way you want to go and what you want to invest in. So, but that was my experience as a family consumer science teacher who knew nothing about robotics or coding. I mean, very little.
So can I throw something in there as far as the grant is concerned too? There is a regional grant, and I spoke quite a bit with the old team event person or whoever it was up here.
Bill or Richard?
Reach out to the new one, but regional could be, I'm thinking here in Gillette, it could be Buffalo, Sheridan, all the Northeast teams. We could get a regional grant and get fields and robotics kits and all that kind of stuff. But we would have to have our ducks in order, and we'd have to have some commitment from different schools. But that's definitely a possibility to look into as well.
And what Mike's, if I can jump in on that, what Mike's talking about, that regional grant, if I remember right, what they'll do is they'll help you get started and buy some materials, but you have to agree that you'll register teams and
Yeah.
you'll compete in so many, like you'll go to an event each season.
Yeah. The first year that I competed, it was a matching grant. It was a first year team grant. They gave me a robot kit, but I had to register another kit. And I had the old platform, the EDR platform. The new platform is V5. And so I was able to easily have the equipment for a second team. And all I had to do was commit to compete. And they said that they would want the kit back if I ever stopped participating, but I haven't. I mean, that's been 7 years ago now, 6 years ago now. So I might just kind of jump in. I don't know if you got anything else you wanted to say, but Dr. Aldrich, in your first email, it was you just curious. You said teachers were interested in how to start and then how to maintain. And so I just jotted a couple things down, and Kyle already said right away, first of all, get an account at robotevents.com. You're not committed to anything, but then you're ready to get in and start signing up teams. Talk to your principal. My principal, Kyle's principal, was very supportive then and has been very supportive since then, because it does reach an audience of kids that just isn't being reached right now. And interestingly enough, almost half of my kids are speech and debate kids and drama kids. So I get them from my engineering classes, but I also get them from those other programs as well. Then sign up a team and just do it. So no matter how unprepared you are, you're not prepared enough. Or I should say, however unprepared you think you are, you're even less prepared than you are. You just don't know what you don't know till you get in and start doing it. If you want to wait until you're prepared, you're never going to do it. So you just got to jump in. We did our first year. We started building in September. The event in Evanston was in March or something like that. And I had kids building and tearing down and building and tearing down and building and tearing down for 6 months. And we finally got to Evanston. And we went, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And then the next year, it was totally different. And we had teams that were competitive, because the kids are going to buy in. As soon as they see the competition, they can go there and they'll just get smoked their first competition. But they're going to buy in and they're going to love this game. So I would say just sign up and do it. Keep teams to a minimum, though, in the beginning, 1 or 2 teams till you get a feel for it. But never try to have more teams than you can manage. I tried 7 teams one year. That was too much. So I'm able, with help, to do 5 teams consistently. That works out really well for us. So you don't want to overshoot, especially in the beginning. But the first couple years are just learning years for you and the kids. But that's what the other coaches are there for. We consistently go over to Rapid City to a competition over at Douglas High School in Box Elder. And I've become real good friends with the coach over there. It's mainly South Dakota teams. I've become real good friends with the coach from Mitchell, a couple of the others over there. But we share and we talk and we email about questions and things like that back and forth all the time. And I've done that from the beginning, because I haven't run into a coach that wasn't willing to tell you everything that they know about the competition to help you get better. So just reach out to the coaches. Come to Kyle's tournament on Saturday, because you don't know what it's like until you see it. I tell everybody that I talk to here about robotics, I say, you need to come see the competition. I had an engineer in town, loved the idea of robotics and things like that, finally came to a competition, and he was amazed at what the kids were doing and what they had to do in order to prepare. He had no idea what it was like, but once he saw it, he was even more in. Plan to fail too, both in what you're doing, what the kids are doing. all that kind of stuff. So good team sizes are 3 or 4 kids. I wouldn't go too much more than that, because then you have kids that aren't doing anything, kind of like group work in your class. Okay, that'd be my how to start. You got anything else, Kyle, on things, just things to think about on how to start? But probably the biggest bullet is just do it. Once you get it and once you get going, once you see that you can do it, then you're just going to take off.
Yeah, I would just say just start. I mean, I'm a football coach, and I'm a junior high football coach, and I coach baseball. And I would say without a doubt now, after 5 years of coaching robotics, I enjoy coaching robotics more than I enjoy coaching football or baseball. And I would have never thought I would have said that, but it's really competitive. The kids do buy into it. I mean, I've seen kids cry, laugh, fight, just have the time of their life at a tournament. I mean, and they really learn how to work in a stressful situation. And it's a lot of those kids that don't get those situations because they're not your kids that are playing sports usually. I mean, I have a lot of kids that do play both sports and robotics, but you do get those kids that, it's their first time competing in something.
Yeah.
I was going to say one of my tips for teachers that are just starting is the engineering notebooks that VEX requires for competition. Just get in the habit of having students fill those out every single time you have a practice, or every time they're working on their robots, or on their coding or whatever, because that is something that they do take to competition. And sometimes the judges do. We found that the judges looked at them when we were at the state tournament. And if you just get in, make the kids get in the habit of filling those out, it won't be a fight at the end, or they won't try and remember and go back and do it after the fact. So the engineering, and that a lot of times that engineering notebook is, especially if you have kids who are really involved and then for whatever reason get sick or can't participate or aren't grade eligible, somebody else can pick up with that engineering notebook and look and see what's already been done or what's been tried, and it'll save them a lot of time.
I would kind of piggyback on that a little bit. My freshman teams, I don't have them put an awful lot of emphasis on the notebook, because I want them to have a robot that's going to be a good robot. And so I get them doing it. And then really the quality of that notebook will progress with the years, depending upon the team. You'll get kids that all they want to do, teams that all they want to do is just come and build a robot and go compete. And so they're going to turn in a quickly put together notebook, and you're going to have teams. So the very first year when we went to Evanston, one of my teams, their goal was to go to Worlds. And so they realized very quickly that the key is not the robot, it's the notebook. The key to winning the Excellence Award is the engineering notebook and the interviews. And so they put in so much more time on that, in addition to the time on their robot. So some of your teams are going to really buy into it and really like it, and that's awesome. And some of your teams are just going to be there and they're going to have fun. They're going to do a good job and they're going to compete and they're going to go home happy, but the engineering notebook really is the key. I think that's probably the only thing that we had an advantage of, because I've been teaching engineering, here at Thunder Basin for 7 years, and then over at Sage Valley doing the same thing with the engineering notebook or that kind of stuff over there. So we had a good start on that. Everything else, I didn't really know what I was doing, but kind of got it figured out. So I don't know if there's any questions, because I was going to just talk about things to maintain too. So start small, grow. Oh, sorry.
Just a quick, I'm going to share my screen here.
You have a notebook?
Just so you guys know, let me see.
And we had a question about what you guys are programming in.
Yeah, and I was going to show that. So just like at a typical event, like when people don't know what an event looks like, this is my agenda for an event I had in December. So like at a tournament, what teams do is we start, like most tournaments around the country, like some states, every school district has VEX teams. Wyoming, the goal would be that we get there someday, but usually teams show up in the morning, they get their robot inspected, and then they turn in their notebook. And then after they've turned in their notebook and had the robot inspected, they they might have a team interview where they are interviewed by a panel of judges about how they built their robot and why they made the decisions they made. Then they have skills challenges, is where it's just you and your robot either running your autonomous coded program or driving your robot by yourself. You're trying to compete in a skills challenge where it's just one robot. And then most of the day they spend their time, if you look at this agenda here, they have teamwork matches for most of the day. So it's kind of like a wrestling tournament where they have a schedule and they have 8 or 9 driving matches, and they know what time their match is and who they're with. And then they have to keep track of that schedule throughout the day and show up for their matches on time. And then it all ends with a finals round at the very end, and then awards at the end. So most of our tournaments are about a whole day, and we usually do them on Saturdays. So we have one this Saturday at Sage Valley. If anybody was interested, it starts at 9 a.m. at Sage Valley in Gillette, Wyoming. So you guys wanted to come to that. And then someone asked about the coding studio. So I'll pull that up real quick. And we code, at least at the junior high and middle school level. We're writing code. You guys see my screen, right, Mike? Can you see my screen?
No, I see you.
You see me? Oh, man.
Yeah. I can bring mine up, I think.
I got it here. I got it. There we go. All right, there we go. So if we're coding like a Vex IQ robot for my elementary or junior high kids, we're using Vex IQ code blocks, which it's built through the Scratch platform. So it looks a lot like Scratch, which a lot of kids would have a little bit of background in this probably, or even the teachers as well. So, and those of you that coach high school or have more experience with coding, you can also code your robot in C# and Python as well in this same studio here.
So what Kyle is showing here, this is browser based. So once we saw that we could use browser-based application, we were using Chromebooks. You can also program with iPads. At the high school level, we have, I've got a couple teams that are coding with the blocks, but most are using what's called Vex Code Pro, which is C++, strictly command line. Gives them a lot more functionality. They are changing that a little bit. So they're not supporting Vex Code Pro anymore, but they're still going to have the C++. And it's through Visual Studio. Does that sound right? You programmers out there, there's something that's going to be more industry aligned with that. Yeah. And like Kyle said, they can also do Python. In my classes, I'm kind of starting to focus on Python a little bit more. I got, the kids that are interested in engineering, especially, I try to make sure that they can, that they're introduced to both. So you have a little bit of different choices. The really nice thing about this is the kids at the IQ, which if you're not familiar, that's like Lego-like robots. They snap together more like Legos. They're going to be programming in the same language that my high school kids are. Really the same. The application looks the same, even if they go to the tech space. So they get a lot of experience. It's not changing. And really the way the junior high kids are programming right now, they're getting to be pretty sophisticated with the experience that they've gotten through. We have an Area 59 robotics league here. So we've got kids that have done IQ robots now since 3rd grade, like 3rd through 8th grade. So 5 years, and then up into the high school. So with quite a few years of robotics experience.
Any other questions? I did see on the chat, someone else threw out a question, or they threw out a statement that they said First Robotics, the Lego is $100 a person. And I don't have a lot of experience myself with Lego robotics, but I just know that with Vex Robotics, just from talking to other people that have done both, which Mike used to do Lego robotics, so he could probably tell you this, but at an event or at a tournament, with the Vex Robotics, the kids use them a lot more. So they get a lot more firsthand experience, and they get to see it work. They get a lot more time to work on it, or they're going to be forced to change it up a lot because they're going to use their robot in competition. At least they're going to run their robot 8 or 9 times at each event.
At least, yeah. Now, the high school event is a little bit different than the junior high or elementary. In the high school event, the field, it's a 12 by 12 field, and there's 4 robots on the field at a time, and you compete as an alliance. So 2 robots are competing as the Blue Alliance, and there's 2 robots competing as the Red Alliance. And so the teams really have to be playing offense and defense for the whole time. One of the things that I kind of like about it is the software will just match the teams up. So you'll be playing with teams from your own town, but you'll also be paired up with teams from all the other towns that came to the tournament. So that really forces them, and you see it an awful lot. The kids will get together with individual teams throughout and communicate and develop strategies kind of on the fly based on the strengths of these different robots. That's something that we learned just as we've been watching. We went and just kind of did our own thing. And then as we started paying attention, there were teams that were coming around and were scouting and really figuring out what other robots are able to do, so that they could come with maybe kind of a strategy in mind. We're still not quite there yet, but part of that is because we don't get the competitions in Gillette. In Wyoming, we just don't have the competitions available that some of the bigger states are. But that's where you guys come in. We get all these other teams here, and we can have competitions all over the state. That'd be awesome. So there's a couple other things I wanted to just throw out there. First of all, like the coaching, there's 0 skilled required for being on the robotics team. Okay, so you don't have to know programming, you don't have to know building, you don't have to know this stuff to be a team member or to be a coach. All you have to do is have the desire to be a team member and a desire to be a coach, and be willing to come in and fail and learn, honestly. And it's really important for coaches and for the kids just to ask for help. Ask for help from, your principal to get started, but all these emails here, Kyle's email, my email. I really like the South Dakota program. They get together in the summer. The coaches get together in the summer. They talk about things, they plan some things, but they all work together. And just so you know, little town, Harrisburg, South Dakota, about 6,000 people, was the world's robotics tournament champion last year. So just because we don't have the big cities and all that kind of stuff, even with the little towns, our kids can get to that level if they want to. But you just gotta ask for help. I guess that's about it. You just gotta ask for help. You'll be all right. Yeah, I'm not sure who just posted about the one platform. We've talked about that as well. I personally, Kyle mentioned that I did First Lego League, and I did that for, it was quite a few years. What I really like about the VEX is the tournament setup. Like Kyle was saying, we get to compete. In a typical tournament, we run our robots probably 6 times in the qualifying rounds. And then you'll run your robot 6 times in skills. So that's 12 times that you're going to be running your robot in that day. And then you get into the championship round, depending upon the number of teams that are there, you might run your robot another 3 or 4 times. So in a typical day, your robot is on the field a lot. Where with Lego League at the time, it was 3 runs and we were done. We only had 1 tournament a year, and that was December in Casper in December. Obviously, part of that was just because of the number of schools, being in Wyoming again, we're spread apart, so they didn't have the regionals and all that kind of stuff. But I know they were talking about it. I'm not sure if they've got that done yet. But that's what really sold me on VEX, was just the way the tournaments were set up. It's really easy for anybody to host a tournament with the software that they give you. It doesn't cost that much more to buy the controlling electronics in order to run a tournament, maybe less than $300-400, something like that. You can charge a little bit to make some money as a fundraiser. We kind of focus on concessions and food. That does real well for us for fundraisers at those events. But
I'll jump into fundraising. The last 3 or 4 years, me and Mike we get in June, we do a summer robotics camp, and we kind of cater it toward elementary kids, and we put out information to all the elementary schools in March. And we have up to 30 kids. That's where we cap it. And we have 30 kids take our summer robotics camp, and we charge $150, and it's a week-long camp from 8 to 3. And we use my classroom or Sage Valley, and we use my robotic kits, and we just go through one of the STEM labs that VEX provides in their curriculum. And we do that for a week, and we've been raising about $4,000 to $5,000 the last few years, which we split, and that helps us fund our team's registration fees at least, so we don't have to really pay for registration fees when we do that.
so if you're curious what a season costs, this just kind of came to mind. We typically go to Rapid 1 or 2 times a year, and then we host our own event. And it's I'd say about $3,000 with everything. So, and Kyle and I have started doing a robotics camp that's been real successful and has been able to get about, more than half of the budget that we've been spending. And so raising the rest of the money really hasn't been much of an issue. I've been really pushing my administration to quit asking or quit telling me how I can make money by fundraising, and figuring out a way to actually fund the robotics team like they do all the other activities and things like that. So that's where I'm hoping that we get to. Okay, anything else?
I was just going to mention, Michael and Kyle, that, a lot of times robotics, it sounds like it's part of your engineering program.
Yeah.
And engineering programs are included under Perkins funding if your district chooses to include them in their application. I know that in Campbell County, I don't believe you guys spend any of your Perkins dollars at the junior high level. And so if that were to change in the application that opens up on April 15th and closes on May 31st, you might talk with Mr. Garman at Campbell County High School, the assistant principal, who's in charge of your Perkins. And if the junior highs were included, your engineering classes and things would be able to be included. But Mike, you're over at Thunder Basin now, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So that engineering program could easily be included in your Perkins funding, and that would help to purchase any types of robotics applications or equipment that you're using in your classroom for your classes. And if you then just happen to use it for competitions outside of class, that's completely allowable and acceptable. So I would mention to you as well that we have had lots of requests over the last probably 5 years for the state to look at a state organization for students that do robotics. Right now, we've been meeting that need through Skills USA. And so that organization does receive support from the State Department of Education. Limited right now, and where they're hoping it's going to be more after this legislative session. But I would encourage you to think about that as well, because those Perkins dollars can be spent for things like competition outfits and things like that, as long as the district retains ownership of those outfits after the event is over. So definitely something to be thinking about and to talk to Mr. Garman about. So any other questions for Mike or for Kyle?
Yes, I have one. My name's Carla Ludeman from Upton. And do you guys recommend that I pay for PD Plus again next year for that $1,000? or just have my kids use the STEM labs?
I wouldn't pay for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And Megan had a question as well. Megan?
Yeah, thank you. I actually didn't have a question. I just wanted to go ahead and say like a thank you to Mike and Kyle because they were at the CSTA conference last year and I had just had a robotics program approved for my high school in Sheridan for the first time and went to them and said, so what am I doing? And they actually both sent me like a printed out list of this is what you should order. And so if you are needing help, seriously, they mean that. And I do have all of exactly what they told me to order, thanks to a really wonderful grant that I got through Perkins. And a cutting edge grant helped me to get those robotics purchased for my classroom. And we do have the VEX kits and my students love them. We have the best time with them. They absolutely rave about them. And we have done some really incredible things this year. So just so you guys know, like 100% they mean that they will help you, including I sent them an email and just said, please just tell me what to order because that's a lot to look at. And they really did.
Yeah. And if you have that engineering program listed as a new and emerging program of study in your Perkins application or in your regular funded programs of study, then you're eligible to write one of those cutting edge grants that Megan just talked about that's good for up to $25,000. That can cover professional development, it can cover equipment, it can cover the game floor, anything that you need for your robotics program. So please, check with your district, or you can give me a call and we can figure out how you can access funds to help support your robotics program. So, yeah. Any other questions for Michael or Kyle? Well, thank you guys so much for being with us. You're more than welcome to stay. We'd love to have you do that. But if you have to go, we understand that as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, again, this Saturday, Gillette, Sage Valley at 9 a.m. if anybody wants to travel to Gillette and watch a tournament this weekend. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yeah.
Did you drop that link for the flyer into the chat? And I'll send that out tomorrow with the recording to all the teachers across the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
So, at this point, I would just wanted to turn it over to, I think, Megan, do you want to give an update for a Computer Science Teachers Association or WACTE or anything going on with that?
Yes, I would love to. And I was going to ask, will you also, if I shoot you a flyer, will you send one for us out as well when you send it out?
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Okay. So with who we have left, and then we'll get an email and things sent out as well. In the past, we have had 2 years of Computer Science Teachers Association having a summer conference. We are shifting gears a little bit this year, so it'll be the first time, and we're really excited about it. So we are going to host our sessions that we usually would of computer science professional development at the WDE conference this summer. So the Wyoming Association for Career Tech Ed. So we're really excited about this. We have a lot of teachers in our state who are teaching more than just computer science and are often teaching many, many things. Gosh, even Dr. Aldrich just spoke about being a family and consumer science teacher who was teaching robotics clubs at least and doing those pieces. And we know lots of us wear lots of hats. So our computer science pathways will be within the WDE conference this year, including having an opportunity for WDE is like CTE. That WDE piece of it is generally our conference is really like that junior high, high school, post-secondary age. But we are even inviting our elementary computer science teachers in. We will just have one day that's very focused with elementary computer science pathway. And so you can even, if you're an elementary teacher, you can choose to stay the whole time, or you can do a single day registration and just really hone in on those elementary sessions and call that good. Or we would invite you to stay for all of it there as well. It'll be June 11th through the 13th. 11th is like registration that morning in Laramie, Wyoming at the university. So we're super excited. We think it's going to be fantastic. We have some great sessions already lined up for some of our other divisions in WDE. And I know Abby just jumped on, but she is already sending stuff out to get calls for proposals, and we are super excited about this. And I will speak on behalf of like CSTA and like WACD hat also, I am really excited for what we can bring to this conference of teachers that we know that technology is in every career right now. There's no career that exists that technology is not in. And so I'm really excited for what we can bring to these other educators that they might not be seeing otherwise. So that is the update on our summer conference, joining with another one.
Thank you so much, Megan. I was just curious. I know Terry is fairly new from Laramie County School District number 1. So thanks, Terry, for being here. And we are trying to, I may have just scared her away. No, I think she had to jump off. But we wanted to make sure that this is really meeting the needs for those of you that are in the classroom. And so is there any things that you're struggling with, or you could use some ideas for that you're working with your students on, that these other teachers that are experts in the field might be able to answer for you or help you with, or maybe some student projects that they could share with you?
I have a question.
Sure, Gina.
Because I've only been doing computer science for a couple of years, and I also do family and consumer science, but so I'm getting students who are advanced, and what are people using for certifications in the computer science? I did, and I think Megan, I heard that you use the what is that called? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I call it CompTIA, but I think other people call it CompTIA. It looks like an acronym to me, but other people call it CompTIA. Yeah. So I think it's maybe that. I don't know.
Through TOSA, that DigComp?
Yep. I haven't done it yet. It will be my first year giving it to my students this year. I haven't given it yet. Yeah, I do have it purchased. Okay,
so I did, and I purchased. We didn't love it. In fact, my kids will send me, because I did the whole package where they get the training, because I have, kids multiple. I'm teaching my introductory while I'm teaching my advanced that are doing the certification, and they would send me screenshots. Like, it was just buggy. There were like problems in it, and that made them very bad, because they're like, if this is supposed to be a company that's like we're supposed to be certified in, why do they have this error? So I was wondering what other people are using, because I know that was on the approved list, and I chose it, and they all did it, and they passed. But I want to do something different next year. So I was wondering if there's anything else, anybody else, and maybe you'll have a different experience. Maybe they're improving things.
So I will actually, I will only speak to like what I know. And like I said, I have not given my certification yet, and I have not given my other one that I'm trying this year is also Cyber Citizen, which is also through the TOSA platform. However, my teaching partner also decided to try 2 of the certifications through TOSA this year and has already given hers. And they found the very same thing. They had a lot of technical issues and bug issues, and very much the same. Like we are like on a first name basis with the folks there right now, because we've been in so much conversation. And yeah, exactly. And so what's a bummer is what's really a bummer is we felt like maybe the content of the things and the assessment was all maybe like really great. Stuff, like really good content, but the platform that they're using and the way it's being rolled out it's not working super well right now, and it's very buggy. And same thing, her students, so we share a lot of students, right? Because usually if they're in this pathway, they're going both places. Same communication, very frustrated from the student sides, who are like these super techie kids that are so frustrated by it that they're like, so one of her classes couldn't even get through the content. Like it was so buggy that they couldn't get through it. And she was sharing that they were able to like walk through with one of the people from TOSA, like Brian maybe, and show him where it was like there was no correct answer on things.
Yeah.
Like not a single correct answer on one of the assignments. And so I would agree that there have definitely been some bugs in that. I haven't given it myself, but I am hearing you and feeling you, because it is really good content in there, which is unfortunate. Yes.
Well, and I will tell you, Amy put into the chat that she just signed up for the TOSA DigComp. Yep. Yeah. One of the things that I would just let you know is CompTIA, and I want to be fully transparent when I say this. I'm serving on the CompTIA National Advisory Board, and we just had a meeting today. They have rolled out a brand new program called Spark for junior highs and middle schools. It's completely free. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's a curriculum as well as the assessments pieces, and it leads students at the junior high and middle school level into then preparing them for the high school level CompTIA courses. And they're also offering free CompTIA courses for faculty people so that you can get certified in the CompTIA areas, Python and the different things they offer before you teach it to your students, because they recognize that a lot of computer science teachers are coming from other disciplines and are not necessarily computer science formally trained. So they announced that today, but we have some real concerns about TOSA. I'll just be honest with you. We had even considered removing them from the list completely, because one of the things you need to be aware of is that when you test with TOSA, that it'll print out a certificate and it will pass them at every single, no matter what their score is. We had a district who submitted student test scores where the students had scored 13%, but it printed out a certificate form, and the district assumed that if they got a certificate, they had passed the assessment. That is not the case. They have to test proficient or better with TOSA in order for it to count. But because there's a certificate at every level, the teachers and the students didn't understand why that didn't mean they had passed. They assumed that if they didn't pass, it wouldn't print out anything. So just be aware of that they have to test proficient or better, which I think is actually around, it depends upon the assessment, I believe, but it's usually around 700 on the test. So, which is equivalent to a C, basically, if you're on a 1,000-point scale. So just be aware of that that is really, really, we have struggled, and we've had that long conversation. They've got a great sales team that's out there selling across the state of Wyoming and hitting schools hard, but we're finding that there's really some challenges. They have submitted some applications along with a school district to have all of their assessments adopted by us, because we're in that process right now. So if you have some, if you see something that you'd rather be using as your industry recognized credential assessment, the deadline for that is Friday, the close of business Friday, March 1st. I think Elaine sent out an email with a link in it. There's a form to fill out. Districts and teachers can submit those. We do not accept those from vendors. And so TOSA had to find a district to work with in order to get all those submitted. And then we will be holding focus groups with business and industry in March and April to get those vetted, to put together the new approved list for July. So just kind of, if you find something you think is better out there, please submit it to us. We'd love to look at it, but know that there are some challenges with TOSA. Amy, did you want to add anything? I don't know if you have audio or not.
I do.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I just now told them, because it took me a while to decide which exam I was going to use, because a lot of them are so Python focused, but I only do Python for one semester. I don't do it all year. So then they didn't have enough knowledge to go all the way. And so it took me a while to decide. I just now decided. And so now I'm concerned, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
So Amy, Dr. Aldrich, I appreciate you saying all that, because I love a couple things. I love that we don't let companies pay to have their IRCs on our list. I do really appreciate that so much. And I will say, like, the folks from TOSA, I have really appreciated working with them. They've been wonderful to work with. And like I said, and my partner and I even both said this, like, they have such a great product. We feel like the content of it is so good. It just hasn't really been put into practice well yet, in the sense of how buggy it is, or like weird things like grammatical and spelling errors in the middle of things. And we're like, how, Amy, to answer your question. So in the Digicomp piece yet, I have not found for myself an area where it has like been the situation where it like completely bugs and I can't use it at all in that situation. my teaching partner's problem was that in hers that she was using was a very, like, it was Microsoft. And so they had to be paired with Excel all the time. And so it would be like opening and closing Excel stuff all the time. And so they could not go to the PDF piece because it was like they had to be able to have the Excel opened and then re-upload it and then grade it that way. It was like a whole piece. And so theirs was a totally different situation. I have not seen that on my side yet. So I'm hopeful that like what we're saying for our side, because it isn't so heavy on that like third party, you know, where you have to like communicate between them. I'm hopeful that we will still be okay, like you're saying, because I kind of same thing. I was in your boat. She was coming over here being like, this is a disaster. And I'm like, okay, but I haven't even started mine yet. And so
Well, and
I totally understand.
I was concerned about that too. I was also concerned about the idea that I have them in one, web application for their programming and one application for their LMS. So they're in Canvas all the time. And then now I'm going to make them go into another one for the DigComp class. So I was actually hoping to have this be, this year, I would just download all the materials and find a way to just put them in Canvas myself. And they just do the lessons there and then take the exam. And I don't do the coursework through TOSA. I just do the exam at the end. So that, fingers crossed, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
So, Amy, I mean, because my students just finished it and I only had 6 this time, but they were very, very like, I don't know. I'm just like, oh, what is this mistake here? What is this? They were still able to do it and they still feel like they learned a lot, but they just had high standards. If they were going to get a certificate, it should be well done. When they found errors, they're like, who got a job programming this? So, but they even noticed though, because, they were kind of at different levels, they went at different speeds. And I think they were making improvements as it went along because they're like, oh, look, so-and-so's doesn't have that same mistake that ours did when we would let them know. And their team has been great, so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, they're like, you shouldn't make people do it next year. What if you have kids that aren't as smart as they're like, we should have something. They wanted something that they felt was more, they just didn't feel like that professional. Hey, Michelle, and I don't know, do any of you use CodeHS for your, so they have certification things now. And I was going through those and I would that be, I know it's not on the list now, but they have to, there is a lot of coursework they'd need to complete to do their certification exams. But that was one thing, because my students are used to CodeHS and they're like, we should do a CodeHS one. It looks so much better. And it's, they just felt like it didn't give them the problems. But that was just through taking doing the regular, Python or JavaScript or cybersecurity are the 3 that my kids do. But so I have to fill out the form to have that form for my link. I started filling it out, but I thought I'll wait till after we meet to see what are the rest of you that have used CodeHS. Have you looked at their certification things? Because that's pretty new that they have certifications as of last year, I think.
Yeah, so that's the first I've heard of that. We use CodeHS. That would be really intriguing to me. I've never looked at them at all. I didn't even know they had them, since you're saying that's pretty new. That would be really intriguing to me because that is the platform that we use for even our AP Computer Science A and Computer Science Principles courses. And so
it's in their course catalog. They have what certification exams that they have. And they have a review in there, but it says this is a certification exam after they have taken like Python 1 and 2, or after they have completed, the fundamentals of cybersecurity. But they're like, they say, how CodeHS says it'd be this many hours of instruction time. Sometimes my kids fly through those more faster, but they're all like 120 hours of instruction time. But if they've started that 1 year, then they could do the certification. Anyway, I would like to put those on, at least the ones that I would be more likely to use.
I'd be really interested. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is there a cost to those, Gina?
I'm sure there is. When I asked them about it, but then I looked and I'm like, oh, it's not approved. They said, let us know. Because with CodeHS, that's always how many you know, they'll do it like how many tests you want would be, I already have the Code HS platform. So as far as that, it wouldn't be, it would just be the exam part. And it comes with like review quizzes for each section before they take the test. I was just looking at it, the certification part today, and then there's the certification exam, but they'd like contact us about the pricing.
How much do you pay for the platform? I'm just curious.
Oh, I don't know. We're about, it's about $7,000. Well,
I don't know either.
3 years.
Oh, it's 3 years. Okay. So it's about 2,500 a year.
Maybe it depends on how many students you have on it too.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is because one of the things that we've done is because ICEV also offers a lot of our industry recognized credentials, and ICEV is kind of a middleman. But you have to buy basically their platform or a license for a student. And so what we've done is when a student passes an industry recognized credential through ICEV, we reimburse the district for that student license. In addition to, because the assessment comes as part of the license, right? I mean, they buy the curriculum and the license and by the student. And so, and then we've had some where they have like a platform. And so they divide it out on what the license was, how many students were using it. And then we reimburse based on their industry recognized credential amount based on the cost of the platform, because they're not paying anything additional for the credential assessment. So we try and make it as equitable as possible to the district.
So Michelle, are you saying that if the Code HS, if their certifications got approved, then we could do that same thing?
Yeah, then you could figure out what it's costing you per year, per student to have that license. Where those, if they're not charging anything additional for those assessments, then that's what we would reimburse the district for as the assessment cost.
Okay, I think there is something extra for the actual exam because it is certification. I don't remember it being super high.
Okay.
They gave me a ballpark for my school, but then I'm like, oh, never mind. It's not on my approved list.
Yeah. Well, in the Microsoft Office certification, I think you guys probably know this better than I do, but if I remember correctly, if they do all the pieces, you know, Access, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and is there another one there? That might be it. Anyway, it's like $400 or $500 per student for all those. If they do all the tests. And we actually have some districts who do that with their students. And by the time they're a senior, they've got all those tests and we reimburse them for that $400 or $500 per student.
Okay.
For the mouth certification, I guess it's called. So. Yeah. Any other questions any comments or thoughts? Clint, did you have some thoughts about credentials? You're on mute.
No, I don't think so. We don't have ever, this is our first year really pursuing that. And so I just picked one for the one student that was doing one for me. And we did an OSHA one. And then he's actually, I think he's going through ag anyway, just because of some issues we've had with our stuff. But I've got a student next year that's looking at Net Plus, CompTIA Network Plus certification. So I think I'm going to be like a 1 or 2 a year person. So, you know, we're
okay. 1 or 2 a year is good, especially in a school the size of Matisse. That's good.
Yeah.
So
Network Plus is really good. The CompTIA Network Plus one is really great.
Awesome.
So that one's great.
Yeah. Well, I show that it's about 4 minutes we're about 4 minutes over. And so thank you guys for joining us today. Megan, can you hang out for just a minute? Are you and Abby? So thank you guys so much. Have a great day. We'll send the recording out tomorrow to you with all the resources. So have an awesome week.
Thanks, everybody.